Okay, welcome back to the Are You Strong show. Another awesome guest on tonight. This story is going to be really fun to talk about college football at its best. But before I introduce this young man, let me kind of read off some of his accolades. And he's got more, but I don't have them all. But he's going to fill in the blanks. But this young man is from Georgia, the state of Georgia, which is big time football, but he had a 4.06 GPA. I'm going right to the academics before I even get to the athletics. A 4.06 GPA in high school. I don't know how you get, obviously the AP courses, but 4.06 is incredible. But two-time team captain, four-time scholar athlete, you know, graduates, goes to, now I found out, University of Georgia, played football, transfers to TCU, has some time there. And I love to point out, everybody knows this, is, first team, you know, all academic multiple times, which is such a cool thing with the athletes today. Active member of the Fellowship for Christian Athletes, which is really cool. I want to dig into that.
Hmm.
Um, then transfers to a different to I forget LA, Louisiana Tech.
Louisiana Tech,
Yeah,
that's right.
and gets hit with a little injury there, and or a big injury we'll talk about. Then
Mm.
transfers to Elon, lights it up, goes up to, and beats up my school, which wasn't, too much fun to hear about. But we got him back this year, and played in the hula ball,
Hmm.
which is really cool. Want to hear about that? But welcome to the show, Matthew Downing.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It's really, really cool stuff. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're here, and I got a ton of questions to ask you. But before I do that, can you just tell the audience a little bit about yourself, but fill in what I missed? I know I had some stuff that I missed there. Fill in the blanks.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a unique story. So I played high school football in Georgia. I'm the youngest of three boys. So I grew up seeing my oldest brother play high school football at Alfred High School here in Georgia. My middle brother, who's an older brother of mine, play high school football in Georgia. So, as a kid, I'm the ball boy,
Yeah.
I'm around it all the time. Had success in high school and I was a preferred walk-on to the University of Georgia. So I had some smaller offers in high school, but I had been recruited by some big schools for a while, and my size at the time was just not, hey, we're not going to pull the trigger on a scholarship offer. But the person in me, I always wanted to play at the big level. I saw Baker Mayfield doing what he was doing at
Yeah.
Oklahoma, and I was like, man, you know what? I'm just
How
going to
big are
go.
you?
I'd say I'd call myself 6 foot. So
Okay.
6 foot, about 210. So out of
That's
high
good
school
size.
was not 210. My later years was not that big coming out of high school, but saw what he did. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bet on myself. So Georgia had been recruiting me for a while, and um, scholarship wasn't on the table there. He said, hey, we want you to come be a preferred walk on, compete to be playing as a freshman as a third string quarterback. Went in with the number one quarterback recruit in the country in Justin Fields, and he's a good friend of mine today, and was going to be behind Jake Fromm, who had just taken Georgia to a national championship and lost as a true freshman. So,
Yeah.
what a great opportunity that could be to go learn, develop, and eventually compete to play. So, I go there. Um, playing 4 games, first year of the 4 game redshirt rule, played in 4 games, learned a ton, and when it just came down to it, felt like I had earned a scholarship at that point. They weren't going to move in that direction, but I'll say no harm, no foul. They brought back Stetson Bennett, who took them to
Yeah.
multiple national
Yeah.
championships. So they made the right call on their end there. So I have a lot of love for Georgia. But the cool part is I transferred. My oldest brother, who I mentioned, his name's Michael. He played safety at TCU. He was a he was
Okay.
a he was a walk-on safety at TCU, and he was a graduate assistant on the defense for TCU, coaching for Gary Patterson. And I'm in the transfer portal, looking to go play. I want to go play somewhere. And my brother, he texted me, he said, hey, you know what? Our staff just watched your film, and in meetings, you might be getting a call here. So it worked out, and TCU gave me an opportunity. and I didn't even visit the school. I'd been there for many of his games,
Yeah.
so I went to TCU. Was there for 3 years. I was there in the middle of COVID. I started the season at quarterback during COVID. I was benched. I had multiple injuries while I was there, some minors, one more, a shoulder injury into COVID, so I was able to rehab at home. And so I graduated from TCU after 3 seasons, after the 2021 season, and I loved my time there. I had so much love. Got my degree from there. So many lifelong teammates, and at that point, I was like, "Look, you know what? I'm not the guy here, but I want to go play. I got my degree, and I want to go play." And so I have an offensive coordinator from TCU and Sonny Cumby, who became the head coach at Louisiana Tech. And I was a graduate transfer. And he called me and said, "Hey, you know what? I want you to come here and compete to be my quarterback." And I am was familiar with the system, familiar with the relationship there. And so I went to Louisiana Tech, and I earned the starting job. I started there. I had some ups and downs at the beginning of that season, and I'm in the middle of that year playing, and I had a nasty knee injury where a guy hit me low. I tore my MCL, my
Yeah.
ACL. I'd already dealt with a labrum tear in my left shoulder, a couple sports hernias, and it was tough. I remember we were in the middle of a 2-minute drill coming back against Rice at home, and I let it go, and I felt it. And my now wife, who she was there living with me in Louisiana. My parents were there, and I just remember coming off the field and seeing their faces, and just all that work, everything you'd been through, and you kind of just an injury, right? But I stuck it through the season. I got surgery. I rehabbed. I was around the team. I was a leadership council member there, so I felt like it was important. I was a leader on that team to be around, and so did what I could in terms of my role in the building. And when it came to it, they decided, "Hey, we don't think you're going to be healthy enough to be here." So they decided to go get another quarterback. And
Mm,
again, that was tough, right? Um, I'd already dealt with some things at my previous stops where, as a player, you don't always agree with what the coaches
yeah.
do, but the coaches are making the best decision for that football team and what they feel is best at the time. So you're always dealing with that. And then for that to happen, you feel like, hey, I trust myself that I'm going to get back healthy, but they didn't see that. Never got
Right.
that opportunity. But it turns out to be this big blessing in disguise. I truly do believe everything happens for a reason. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not ending my career this way. I want to play, whether it's one more year or I can get a medical red shirt and play
Yeah.
play again. And Elon, they gave me a chance, and I'm so grateful for that university. I got my master's from there. I'll be forever part of Elon, and had 2 successful seasons, and it led me to where I am now. I've developed so much as a person through my different experiences, battling injuries, going school to school, dealing with circumstances within the team, what I felt was fair or what wasn't fair. That's not really up for me to determine, just what I had to deal with. So a little, that's kind of the story of how my college career navigated itself a bit. But it's led me to where I am now. So,
I mean, we could probably talk for hours about that whole journey. Let me ask you, this is a crazy question. So you had Georgia,
mhm,
right? TCU, Louisiana Tech, Elon.
mhm.
Four different locker rooms, right? I mean, what was that like to transition from one to another? Did you notice a difference? Did you feel a different vibe? Was one more, accepting than the other?
Well, I'll tell you, they happened at different phases in my career. So, what I mean by that is, when I was going to Georgia, I was a freshman, right? I'm going into, like any freshman is going into a locker room.
Yeah,
You don't really know what to expect in a college locker room. My mindset was, you know what? I'm going to go in there and I'm going to learn as much as I can, but I'm going to go earn it through my actions. That's how I worked. That's how I
yeah,
showed up every day. That's the attitude that I had. And that was my mindset as a freshman. And I earned it every day. And I earned the respect of teammates and developed some great relationships that I still, I'm in contact with, great friends of mine. And I was grateful for my time there. But then you get to a point where I'm transferring to TCU, and it's okay. I didn't come in with a recruiting class like I did at Georgia. Like you come in
Yep.
with freshmen who
Yep.
you're all doing it together. When you
Yep.
transfer, I'm transferring from Georgia to Texas. I'm not really sure. The recruiting class has kind of already happened, but a similar mindset. You have to go earn it every
Yep.
day. But it starts with the personal relationships. You can't just walk in and talk to this group of people and try to feel like you have this respect. But when you go and get to know your teammates on a personal level and you build that trust of getting to know them and getting to know them on top of you going to earn it every day, then that's where that respect comes from. And you kind of finally become integrated into the locker room. I will tell you, when I got to TCU, I was dealing with an injury from Georgia where I had a sports hernia and groin surgery. It was a 6 week recovery, but when I got there, winter workouts were starting to where I couldn't participate in it. And it's kind of eating at you like, I don't have the opportunity to go earn it in
Yep.
workouts by how I work. I'm front of the line. I'm just busting my tail every rep. I didn't have that. So that was a tough element. But, I think over time, as I came back, how I rehabbed through my injury, how I developed those relationships and who I was every day, in the weight room, in the classroom, on the field, in the locker room, was able to develop relationships. And, guys, I'm married now. Guys were in my wedding that were on my team at TCU. I stay in contact with so many teammates. I mean, I even have a wedding invite right here from a teammate of mine at TCU. Like just so many
It's great.
lifelong relationships. And then you get to Louisiana Tech, and I talk about different phase. I've graduated now. I've been through some stuff. My expectation is that I want to walk in and earn the respect to be the starting quarterback rather
Yep.
than just integrating into a locker room, right? So you have to take on a whole new role. Those personal relationships have to develop quicker. Um, the respect you receive on the field by how you work, how you show up every day, how you try to lead, um, that's how that happened. And so you want to earn the respect a bit quicker in how you play on the field, like spring ball. Hey,
Yep.
this guy's going to come in and be our starting quarterback. Let's see what he has. You know what I mean? So that happened, and then similar to the Elon, I was coming off of an injury, which was tough, but I'd been there before. Okay, I'm coming in rehabbing an injury. I've already been through that experience before. Now I'm also coming into a locker room where I'm trying to earn the respect of my teammates to ultimately earn a starting position as the
Yep.
quarterback. Now, how can I combine those two and learn from what I experienced and apply it here? And it all ties back to what I believe in is a personal relationship with
Yep.
your teammates. Because if they trust you and you have that relationship, that true, genuine relationship with them, and then you share that hardship with them through the workouts, through the
Mhm.
practices, through the games, it just continues to grow and grow and grow. And so I'm fortunate that those locker rooms, took me with open arms. But I think it's a part of who you are every day, of trying to go earn it every single day with those guys in the locker room. So
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be harder for a quarterback to make that type of transition than, let's say, an offensive lineman. Because the quarterback, you got to be the leader. The whole team's got to look to you, right?
mm,
And not that there's any disrespect to the offensive lineman, because without them, there's no quarterback, right?
yeah,
But
absolutely,
it's
absolutely,
different in the locker room. You don't find too many verbal, outspoken leader linemen, but it's not
yeah,
expected. But it's expected from a quarterback.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think, um, with the experience that I've had in my past, I've been through a ton of stuff,
Yeah.
good, bad, and different. I've had a ton of experience. So when I get to a place like Louisiana Tech or Elon, being able to be vulnerable with them, right? Like if you want to play quarterback, you have to be a vocal leader. It's really a non-negotiable in my eyes. You have to be a vocal leader. You have to be a guy in the weight room that's going to be first in line, that's going to be busting his tail. You got to be a guy at practice that practices like he plays every single day. That's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Um, but taking that experience and being vulnerable with my teammates for them to know me and not just surface level Matthew, but really knowing me
Yeah.
really allowed me to to know them better, for them to trust me, and to where once I've earned it, like on the field, through practice, through working my tail off, then you're able to kind of get into this role of a vocal leader. And then it gets even deeper when you play a football game and you're in the fourth quarter, you're 60 plays into the game.
Yeah.
Everyone's dealing with some little, bruise, injury they've dealt with throughout the game. It's tough. And they look you in the eyes and you're the calm within the storm and say, let's go. Let's go
Yep.
right here. It kind of just takes this whole new
It
new
brings it
level
to a
of
new level.
leadership. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
So
So let's go backwards a little bit, right? Let's come out of high school. You walk on, preferred walk on at Georgia.
mhm.
You're 18.
18.
What? I mean, again, Georgia, it doesn't get any bigger. And how many national championships did they win in the last couple of years? Whatever, three, two, three.
Yeah. They got 2, 3. Yep.
Yep. And you're right in there fighting with these guys that are powerhouse names, right? What is that like walking on a campus like that at that type of program at 18 years old?
Yeah. I think that you have to have a mindset of self-belief where I'm supposed to be here. So that's number one. If you go in and you look around and you're like, wow, this is a 5-star recruit, this is a 4-star recruit, here you have returning players in college football that have had a lot of production. You have to have the self-belief that you belong there. That's first and foremost.
Yeah.
Whether you do belong there or you don't belong there, you have to have this self-belief.
Yeah.
Number two is those guys are just like any other guy. They love football. They want to work hard. We're all working towards one common goal at that point. When you walk into a locker room, whether how many stars you had, who you are, to the players, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. To the coaches, who gets first opportunity, how many opportunities you have to get on the field. Is it different? Is it not? That's not for me to determine. But I think that when you get into a locker room, guys don't see you like that. It's like I talked about, how do you show up? Who
Yeah.
are you in the locker room? What type of teammate are you?
Yeah.
How do you work? That's where it comes in. So as soon as that happens, you get into it. And I think in the position that I was in as a preferred walk on, I didn't have the expectation to, be a starter as a true freshman, right? Like I knew that I wanted to be a sponge with a coaching staff that has so much experience from the NFL level to the SEC level to any conference in between. How can I soak up as much as I can? And to the players like Jake Fromm, who had played an entire season and gone to a national championship and he's had experiences, how do I learn from what he did the year prior, to leaders in the locker room who are fifth year seniors starting their third or fourth year in the SEC, just being a sponge. So I think going into a school like that, the mindset of I belong, but I'm going to be here and I'm going to learn as much as I can to try to develop as a player and as a person, because there's some really, really good men in that
Yeah.
building.
Oh my God. Yeah. So how did you, I mean, you said your older brother was a DB, right?
Hmm.
You're a quarterback. What inspired you to be a quarterback versus following your brother's footsteps and being a defensive back?
Yeah, I loved touching the football every single play. As a kid, I was always playing offense. In youth football, I'd be the running back when we'd be running the football at a certain age, and then when we go on the pass plays, I'm throwing the ball. And I played baseball too. I was a pitcher, so I just loved being in control. I,
Yeah.
I love that aspect of it. And then I grew to love quarterback. I loved how it's so much deeper than just playing on the field. What goes into it from a leadership aspect, a preparation aspect of you're a point guard, you're a coach on the field, kind of directing traffic. And I just grew to love it. And when I got through middle school and into high school, it's just I loved it so much. It's what I wanted to do. I felt like I was good enough at it to go pursue it. And I just loved touching the football every play and making plays and being and someone
Being in
directing
control. You
traffic.
want to be in
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that aspect of it.
That's awesome. So I would imagine you must have had a chunk of influences along the way. Give
Mm.
me give me some of the people that have influenced your career from from sports to life to where you're at now. I mean, you've made some stops, and I'm sure each place you've met other people that I'm like, wow, this person's a good influence for me.
Absolutely, especially going from stop to stop. But early on, being the youngest of three, I looked up to my older brothers like they were, the best things ever, right? Like I'm looking up to them, how they're doing everything, anything and everything. I was the ball boy. Like if my brothers were doing it, I wanted to go do it. If they were going to go play football in the backyard or wiffle ball in the backyard, I was going to go right there at it, no
Yep.
matter what. And I'm fortunate. My parents in my life have been so influential of just building us as men in our household, in our character, in our beliefs, but also going to earn it every day. There was, nothing was ever given to us. It was, hey, if you are a good student, you respect people, you respect your elders, and you work hard every single day, we will support you in what you're passionate about. And that's what was instilled in our household. And I'm super grateful to have them in my life to influence me. Um, and through high school, I was introduced to a quarterback coach by the name of Quincy Avery when I was a freshman in high school. And um, he really helped me develop not only as a player, but how I thought about the game, who I am as a man. I owe a lot to him of helping me with opportunity and really I look up to him like a big brother. So that's kind of him and I have still have a really strong relationship with together. I trained with him all through college, trained with him before the draft this past year, leading into going to rookie mini camp, and he's been a strong influence. But I get to college, um, I think about FCA, right? I going to TCU was tough. Leaving everything behind in Georgia, I'm dealing with an injury. I'm kind of navigating it on my own. Like I said, when you're not going in with a recruiting class, you're kind of like,
Yep.
okay, I got to go figure this out. And FCA at TCU and Coleman Maxwell and Chauncey Franks, um, that played a really influential part right when I got to TCU of this community. My faith grew much stronger. I had a faith. I went to church in high school a bit, not every Sunday, but I really was able to develop a much stronger personal relationship with Jesus and my faith, and that was awesome at TCU. And I had a roommate there who was in my wedding. He played with the Dodgers out of high school. He's from Texas,
Okay.
from Plano. Went to the Dodgers out of high school. Came back to TCU, and he was a football player. And he was in FCA. We became roommates. He was in my wedding, and maybe he'll listen to this, maybe he won't. But his
Well,
name's
he'll
Mitchell
listen.
Mitchell Hansen, and he may or may not know it. But when we lived together, I really looked up to him. How he dealt with being a second round pick in the MLB and it not working out, but having the perspective that he had every single day
Yeah.
of being a servant leader at TCU, wanting to help people in any way that he could, and always having a great attitude about it while also being really strong in his faith. I really looked up to him, and he was someone that really played a factor in who I wanted to kind of envision myself being. He was with his high school sweetheart. I'm with my high school sweetheart still, and just how he navigated that relationship, I really look up to him. But I mean, I think every stop there's been people that I've come across that have really helped, guide this path for me of, leaning on others that have been through experiences. Because while a lot of people may think that they're going through something alone, of, what, in that time when I was transferring, dealing with an injury, I probably felt
Yep.
like I was the first person to ever do it, right? But
Yep.
there's people that have dealt with it, and there's people out there that have been through hardship and experiences that are out there to lean on, and those people in my life were someone that I could lean on. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about my current wife. She did long distance with me for a while. She traveled out to home games to TCU, racking up sky miles with Delta,
Yep.
all of that. And she saw me go through the ups and the downs of everything. And she was right there with me. And when I decided to move to Louisiana. She was working in Atlanta. She said, you know what, I don't want to be long distance anymore. I won't. So she decides to make a sacrifice. She does remote work. She moves out to Louisiana with me. And just as much as I was going through it, she was going through it with me. I have a major, major knee injury. And the person who's with me going through it every day, whether it's the physical aspect of it, the emotional aspect of it, she was right there the entire time. When we decided to go to Elon, she goes, you know what? You keep chasing your dream and I will support you. And she went with me to Elon, and I decided to come back for another year. And no matter how hard that discussion was, because, we have a life to live and we want to, raise a family one day. She's like, as tough as that conversation was, you know what? I will support you in this decision. I love you. And she has had such an impact on me. And I would not be able to have done all of that without her. So I'd be reminiscent to not talk about the influence she's had on me in
That's
our
awesome.
life. Yeah.
You have a football wife.
Yeah. She gets it. She
Yeah.
gets it.
Yeah, because if they don't, it doesn't work.
Hmm.
So that's awesome. You didn't
Yeah.
say her name.
Georgie. Her name's Georgie. Georgiana. She goes by Georgie. She's now
Okay.
Downing. So
Okay.
love that piece,
Cool.
but
Cool.
she's been amazing.
That's awesome. Good for you. So let's just keep staying backwards for a second. We're gonna move forward and all kinds of cool stuff, but recruiting, right?
Mhm.
It's crazy today. Would you agree? It's like insane.
Yeah, it's unrecognizable.
Yeah,
I'd call it
exactly. So, you came out of high school in what year?
2018.
2018. So pre-COVID, the world didn't blow up yet. It
Hmm.
was still the old school recruiting. Nobody was getting paid for anything, at least legally anyway. And uh, and all of a sudden, like, what was your recruiting process like? Was it just solely you? Was your family involved? Was your wife involved? Your girlfriend at the time, right? Were your friends involved, coaches, or was it just like your deal? Because now the whole world's involved with these kids getting recruited.
Yeah. I it was a lot of me. I mean, my coaches were involved, right? Like my high school coach, like any high school coach would be when coaches go to see you and they talk about you, go see you at practice. My high school coach was certainly involved. Um, my parents were involved. Um, but I would never say they overstepped in any way. Like they always let me kind of be me
Yeah,
in that sense, which I appreciated a ton. Um, my now wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, I mean, she was in the loop on everything, but there was never going to be a decision made based on, what she was like, this is your decision. Whatever you decide, we're going to work it out.
yeah,
Um, my brothers, I would lean on my brother who was in college at TCU for advice because he was in it, right? Because recruiting, they tell you a lot of things that are so amazing. Come to
yeah,
my school is how, but I was able to lean on him for what's the real aspect of it.
yeah,
And recruiting for me, honestly, was pretty quiet. I was undersized after my sophomore year. I started as a sophomore. We won 6 games, but my tape was, I'd say I had pretty good tape as a sophomore, just what I would put on film. And big schools were coming to see me. So I had Florida coming to see me, I had ACC schools coming to see me. And the thing every time was, you know what, he's just not as big as we thought he was. So that's tough. Obviously, the measurable aspect of it, but I continued to work and work and work, and I had a really good junior season. FCS schools were recruiting me. Southern Illinois was my first offer ever. Montana State was another FCS school that offered me. And their big pitch is, hey, if you love the land and in God's country and hunting and fishing, this is a place for you. I've never grown up hunting and fishing, so it
didn't
wasn't
work out.
necessarily a place for me. But I had schools like Memphis that were recruiting me, and Georgia came in the picture going into my senior year after my junior year, and I went to a camp there and threw it really well. Um, I stayed and talked to the coaches for a long time. I threw extra, and there were some big schools recruiting me, but no one wanted to be the first one to pull the trigger in my eyes because of my height. It
Right.
came down to the measurables, and And so recruiting, I felt like I was a really under recruited prospect based on my film and production as a player. I was an all state player senior year. We went to the quarterfinals my senior year. I was region player of the year multiple times, first team region, all of that. Like I felt like in the state of Georgia, my production was there. And I just never felt like it may have been a little bit of me being naive to only looking at those big schools and not, you know, I think at the time I had some blinders on it, and I look back and I'd probably give myself a little bit different advice, but no regrets because of it put me in the position that I am
Yeah.
now. But so recruiting was a little shady for me in terms of being under recruited, and then Georgia was like, look, I went on a visit. I sat down with Coach Smart and my family. He said, "Hey, Matthew, we think you're a really, really good player. We don't have a scholarship for you in this class. Jake Fromm is coming is the quarterback here. Justin Fields is coming in here. There's obviously only one guy can play. Now you come in and earn it, and you earn a scholarship in a year, and you earn your way as a freshman. Then you could be in line to compete to be the backup. And all I ever wanted was an opportunity for competition.
Yeah.
I was never asked, hey, guarantee me that I'm going to do this. That was never my mindset. Give me an opportunity for competition and let that be what it where it falls where it falls. If I win the competition, if I'm good enough, then that's what it is. And it's not because I'm only 5'11", 6 feet tall. It's not because I don't run a 4.40, but there's more that goes into it.
Yeah.
The struggle that I had was not having the opportunity for competition. So when they told me that, I was like, looked at my parents, talked about it with my family. I'm like, how could you not go to a perennial program in your state
Yeah.
and have the opportunity to compete as a freshman and potentially compete later on? And so at that point, Baker did what he did. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bet on myself, and that's what I'm going to do. So that's why I decided to go to Georgia.
That's awesome. It just tells you who you are. It's the kids today. It's like, how much you paying me? And I want to start now. Like I would, right? Whereas, how many kids have the mindset like you had, where just give me the shot. That's all I want. Just give me a shot. I'll get the money later. And if people would think that way now, I think the game would be different.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't want to fault players for making money
No,
on who they are for sure, but I do think there's levels to it with no guardrails, especially high school recruiting, right?
right?
When you're in a college locker room, like I had talked about earlier, the merit that you have in high school
It's
is
gone.
gone. It's
Nobody
gone.
cares.
As soon as you walk in, it's
Yeah,
gone. I think that the players who have the mindset of, okay, this money is amazing and it'll set me up in the future, and it helps me out right now and may help my family out right now, because there's so many individuals that come from a tough place to where that money is critical for their family. And I credit them. But the guys who have the mindset of, I'm hungry, I want opportunity, I see this long term. I don't see this as short term, here and now, this immediate gratification. I'm going to go
right.
earn it. The guys that have a mixture of that, plus obviously they're being compensated, or you're going to see those guys being super successful on
Yeah,
Saturdays, going to play on Sundays,
yeah.
and even if they don't go play on Sundays, being very successful in their careers because
In life, yeah,
they have to go earn it every day.
yeah. It's a great mindset to have. So you mentioned before about, going from one locker room to the next. You had to earn their leadership. You had to earn their trust, right?
Mhm.
You know, what were some of the adjustments you had to make each time? Was there something different you had to, hey, you know what? At this school, I had to adjust this way. At this school, I had to adjust that way to get to that leadership role where these guys would trust me.
Absolutely. There was definitely a different mindset, and I think learning from experience helped me. I never wanted to be a guy that went to four different locker rooms. I wanted it to be one school,
Yeah.
and that's where I am. But it's just not how it happened, and it was what it was. And when I moved locker rooms for the first time, I didn't, like I had said, I didn't know what to expect. I was a little bit nervous, but I also wanted to be confident. Um, so when I got to TCU, I felt like I wasn't going to get it right away, especially with an injury. That was a really big because you want to be available and show everyone how hard you work because work ethic is the number one thing in a locker room that earns your respect as
Yeah.
quick as possible. Is when it's 6 a.m. and you're going through mat drills and everyone's tired and but you're
Mhm.
just going hard every single rep. That's the quickest way you can earn respect in the locker room. So, any advice for anyone, that is the number one way to do it. But I wasn't able to do it because I was injured and I was
Right.
recovering, and that was tough. So, I sat back and said, okay, if I can't earn it physically, how can I earn it in a different way? So, I would seek out conversations with teammates, share my story, be vulnerable with them, ask about them, not only from football, but from a life perspective, because I wanted to get to know them and who they were as a person, because we're showing up together every single day towards a common goal. How can we connect to where we can be going in the same direction together? So I really put an emphasis on trying to do that. And then it was, okay, if I can't do it physically, I'm going to do it mentally. So coach is doing install with me and giving me a playbook, and he says, you know what, you need to know these formations. This is day one install, this is day two install, day three and beyond. I'm going to go learn the first 5 days of install in one day. Right, I was in the film room late, I was there early, I was trying to learn the offense as fast as I could, so when I was back physically, that they could just plug and play and I was ready to go. So being able to earn that in the mental aspect of where I could go earn it, and then developing those relationships with my teammates was kind of my mindset. And then as I went to Louisiana Tech, I was available physically. So I could go out there and workouts and just, every single rep, I'm running through the line. I'm first in line. I don't have my hands on my head. I'm not bending over. I'm just fighting through that, and they see it like, hey, when it's tough, is this guy going to be there and is he going to be available? And then it was the aspect of, again, I learned from the relationship piece at TCU that was important to me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply that, but I'm going to speed it up a little more. So I'm going to be very vulnerable with who I am. Why, hey, Matthew, why'd you go from Georgia to TCU? And now you're coming into Louisiana Tech and we have a new head coach and you're expecting to come in here and try to earn a scholarship or earn a starting job. And I answered those questions. I didn't run from it. I went for it head on. Hey, you know what? I was a preferred walk on and I wanted to go earn it. And then I went to TCU and I earned it. And I was benched. I dealt with injuries. I dealt with so many ups and downs, but who it's built me into right now in this moment, and I graduated and I wanted to come play and I wanted to come earn it. So I was vulnerable and I didn't run from it. And so I think that when people are authentically, truly themselves, players can see through the BS, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's coaches in recruiting, right, that tell you all these fine and dandy things. You're going to be this, you're going to be that, and you figure out. But I think players more than anything, once you're in that locker room and you see it day to day, they see through what's real and what's not. So the
Yeah.
authenticity aspect of being myself and being me while going and earning it was huge. And then to Elon, like I embraced being an older guy. I embraced again not running from my story of being a preferred walk on, going to TCU. Matthew, you're on your fourth school. Like, are you the problem? What's the issue? And I didn't run from it. I told my story. I was vulnerable. And I think that being authentically myself and then being a guy who's older, I was 24 in my first season at Elon. I played a seventh year. I was 25 years old, engaged, right? Like I embraced that role on my team of being someone that guys could go talk to, that could lean on, that could show them what I had been through in terms of figuring out what I felt like what a good leader was and learning all of that through my transitions. So all that to say those transitions from locker room to locker room, I think you just have to learn and be intentional about what you have learned. Because when you're intentional with other people, they're going to be intentional back to you.
Back.
And
Yep.
you can have this authentic relationship that creates this trust to where when it's tough and someone's looking for a leader, they can trust you to be that leader for them.
Yeah, they can count on you.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Well, so you mentioned it a couple of times getting benched, right?
Hmm.
How did you handle that? I mean, that's one of the toughest things any athlete. Let me take that back. An injury is probably the toughest thing that we got to deal with. But when a coach says, "Go sit over there," that is tough. How did you handle that? How did you bounce back from that?
I'd say, yeah, besides the injury with my knee, that was no doubt the toughest thing that I've been through in my football career. Take transferring aside of it, being benched when you feel like you've earned it, and whether you're playing bad or you're not, the coach is making a decision and they put you on the sidelines. It's a little bit humiliating, right? Like you feel like, okay, I'm here, I have this opportunity, let me go seize the opportunity, and then you're benched, and it's a little bit humiliating. I think when I was young at TCU, I started in 2020 and was benched in my first start. Whether I felt like it was necessary or not, that's besides the point. But I maybe it was a little bit immature at the time where I showed up to practice on Sunday bitter, you know,
Yeah.
like didn't feel like I had deserved it. Why me? Why this? And I had to dig myself out of it. And I'm fortunate that my brother was there on the defensive as a defensive GA, but he was a brother to me at the time. Like, we were good at drawing that line of what's going to be football and what's going to be me being your brother. And and I'm grateful and I was able to dig myself out of it. So when I went to Louisiana Tech and I was the starter and we played Missouri on a Thursday night and I was the starter and Missouri ends up being one of the best teams in the country that year in defense, and you throw a couple interceptions and you're benched. And the way that I responded to that, um, I was definitely upset the next day. There's no question about it. I think it's to have a day or 24 hours to process it. But I tried my best to, okay, you know what? This is what's happened. I can't go back in time. I can't unthrow these interceptions, but I can show up and this authentic person that I've told everybody that I am and what I've shown to everybody, and this leader, when it's great, but when it's tough, that's when true character shows up. So I did my best, whether it was perfect or not. There's no way it was perfect. It's show up every day and continue to be a leader and continue to be someone that was consistent in who they were, no matter I was starting or I was on the bench.
Wow. So it happened twice.
Yeah, happened twice. And
Which one was more difficult?
I would say both were tough. I'd say Louisiana Tech was probably the toughest one.
All
Yep,
right.
I graduated. I'd been through some stuff. I was like, you know what? I got through it. Here I am, healthy, best shape of my life. Let's go. And it happened, and I was just stunned,
Mm.
absolutely stunned. But I had opportunity to play again that year. I was like, hey, it's going to come back around because I'll share this. When I was at TCU, I had to go play again, and me not necessarily being completely ready like I would be ready if I was a starter. I was ready, but I was not, like that
You weren't
mindset.
mentally ready.
I end up playing against Kansas State and I throw an interception. I throw a pick six. We lose the game 14-7.
Oof.
It was it was crushing, but I had to, you know what? I had to go and show up the next day and I had to show up again and again. And I looked myself in the mirror and said, that is never going to happen to me again, ever. So I learned a ton from that. I learned about who I was and how you respond to adversity. So when I did have to play again at Louisiana Tech, I was playing well, and then a knee injury happens. But I was ready for my moment when my number was called again the second time
You
around.
you grew up quick.
Yeah, you have to. You
Yeah.
have to.
You must have a ton of these, but can you pick any one moment in time in your college football career? Like, this was my favorite moment.
Yeah, I think last year we played William and Mary, Elon on the road at William and Mary, and in the beginning of the year hadn't gone necessarily the way that we had hoped, and it was almost a story of my college career. It really was. You know what? I have these expectations for myself. It starts off well. You play as a freshman at Georgia. We started off playing well at Elon. We went on this stretch of games that we lost. I dealt with an injury, and then we went and won, five out of our last six or whatever, four in a row, and we're on the road at William and Mary. They're ranked. We make this comeback. Then they go and score and take the lead. And then we have a 2-minute drill to either go tie it, if we're down three, to go tie it, or we can go win it. We convert a 4th and 17
Oh, wow.
on, the first set of downs on that drive, convert it. And we throw a touchdown with 6 seconds left on the clock to take the lead. And I just felt like my parents were there. My now wife she wasn't able to make it. She was watching on TV, and it just felt like all of these emotions flood to you of everything that you've been through in your career, everything that you've been through in that season, through a game, and then it comes to
Yeah.
that. It just felt like almost this God moment of, hey,
Yeah.
you know what?
It's like
You've
an
been
out
through
of
a lot.
body experience, right?
Yeah, it was incredible. We won the game. The locker room in there is just it's
Must have
it's
been
awesome.
nuts.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool moment.
Well, talk about that for a second, the locker room. And this is, I think, whenever I ask somebody, what do you miss the most? I don't care what sport it is. I always like the locker room, right? Talk about that locker room after that win. What was that like?
It's so special because that shared hardship that everyone's going through,
Yep.
when you have a big victory like that in the fashion that we did, it's just everybody is smiling, jumping, music's playing, we're hugging, like,
Oh, yeah.
we're all sweaty, bloody, dealing with stuff. And it's just this embrace of just pure joy and excitement. And it's that 5 minutes that you get in the locker room when coach debriefs the team, and turn on that music and everyone's
Oh,
dancing
yeah.
around, throwing water and Gatorade everywhere. It's just the best 5-minute feeling after a win. It's
Yeah.
indescribable. It's
It's
hard
it's
to.
it's euphoric.
It is. It's
You know.
euphoric. You try to chase it in every
Yeah.
way, but it's
Yeah.
just nothing that
You
matches it.
can't, and it's funny we're talking about this is because when I talk to a lot of athletes, like if I said to you, Matthew, can you take out a pen and describe what it feels like to be on that field at that moment doing what you just did? Can you put it in a paragraphical description?
You can't.
You
You
can't.
can't.
You
You can't
can't.
do it.
But if you talk to another athlete, they know exactly what you're talking about, especially one who's experienced something at that level, at that type of moment, right?
Hmm.
And I say it's like a drug. You keep chasing. When's the next one?
Yeah.
You know?
It is. Yeah, and it's why people you love winning so much, because that feeling of a loss, it's like the opposite. It's
Oh,
like the
it's painful.
withdrawal. It's terrible because of you've shared all this hardship to set
Yeah.
yourself up to win, and then you lose. But when you
Yeah.
do win, it's like we got to do this every
Yeah.
week. How do we not do this every single week?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you chase it.
It's the best chase ever though.
It is.
Right?
It
Right?
is. It is.
So, man, I just keep thinking every time you're telling all these stories, which are just incredible, the word that keeps popping out to me is pressure, right? You were under so much pressure in so many situations. How did you handle it? Right? Because you're at the point you were a kid. I mean, you're still a young, super young man right now, and
Hmm.
you've been in some of the most pressure-packed situations in front of ridiculous amounts of people sometimes, right? How do you handle it? How did you handle it? And what advice can you give to the young men dealing with it now?
I was fortunate at the University of Georgia that we had a mental coach by the name of, rest in peace now, is Trevor Moad. And he had something for our football team. As I was coming into a team that had just gone to a national championship, and now there's all of these expectations of what's next, and they smile in your face and they talk behind your back. And what
Mm,
Trevor said to our football team is, pressure is a privilege.
yeah.
because when you have pressure, that means you're doing something right and you have opportunity to do something even better and something greater. So for people to even have the opportunity to have pressure, it's a blessing to have that. So whenever I felt like I was in quote unquote pressure moments, all I told myself was this is an opportunity, because a lot of people would love to be in the position you are right now, to have this
Yeah.
pressure, to have these butterflies you have before a game, because everybody on that sideline and everybody in those stands are expecting you to play well today.
Yeah.
And you get into a 2 minute drill, everybody's expecting you to play really, really well right now to
Yeah.
go try to win a football game. And so I learned that at a program like Georgia, and Coach Smart, who has dealt with expectations so well and has built a program year over year over year that has sustained success, but also when they win, they chase it even more. It's like
Yeah.
you dig your heels even deeper when you win, because I learned that pressure is a privilege, and it's a saying we kept throughout that year in 2018, and I'm sure it's still around at the University of Georgia. But it really is a pressure because it gives you opportunity. It tells you you're doing something right. So embrace the pressure, because a lot of people would kill to be in that situation. So go seize the moment.
Yeah. So what's the biggest crowd you played in front of?
Um, Best biggest crowd I've been a part of. Um, I'd say we played. I mean, Georgia holds 93.5,
And they're in the
94,000.
Mercedes, but there's Mercedes
No,
Stadium.
they play in Sanford Stadium. So they
Okay.
play at Mercedes-Benz sometimes. So that's Atlanta. That's the Falcon Stadium. They'll
Yep.
play games there. But Sanford Stadium in Athens, Georgia holds about 95,000 people. So it's a great, great experience, all-time atmosphere, arguably the best atmosphere in college football. We played. I didn't get on the field, but the coolest environment I've ever been in was Tiger Stadium at LSU.
LSU.
Oh my gosh, Death Valley.
What
We
does
played
that
a
hold?
101, and the thing about
Crazy.
it is the stadium goes straight up,
Okay.
so the noise gets trapped in there, and it's hostile. I mean, they do it different in Louisiana. I learned as I lived there,
Yeah.
it's different. They do it different in Louisiana. And we played College Game Day was there. Joe Burrow was in his first year playing quarterback. They ended up beating us. They rushed the field, but the environment, I just remember being on the sideline and talking to a teammate of mine, and you cannot just have a
They're
conversation.
crazy.
You got to yell at each other
Yeah.
because the crowd's so loud. But been some really cool stadiums, environments I've been a part of, from the SEC, the Big 12, and even some FCS environments. Like we
Yeah.
played at Delaware in 2023. What a cool stadium,
Yeah.
cool environment. It was awesome. So even Elon, our stadium, such a nice grass field. The way it's down, kind of not underground, but it's kind of beneath the
Yeah.
stands. There's brick wall. It's really cool. So I've been blessed to be a part of some cool environments.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: like, when did the clapping start for quarterbacks? Like, and then if you're clapping, like, how do they hear it?
I'm not sure where it started. I didn't start doing it until I got to Georgia. I'd say I'm not sure where the origin is, but you do hear it because when you have the cupping of the hands, if you're a really good clapper, it shows up. But there were times where I remember being at TCU, we played at Oklahoma, which is also an awesome environment at
Yeah.
night, and our center could not hear our quarterback clap. So he was looking at the jumbotron, trying to see him clap so he could snap the football. I'm a believer when you play on the road like that, a silent count is the way to go.
Yeah.
You see Coach Gruden talking about, gosh, what are these freaking snap counts now
Yeah.
nowadays?
Yeah.
But
But don't they
uh,
don't they have linemen doing signals too?
they do. So you get in the NFL, you even see it in college where, a guard, you'll see the center even look between his legs, a little head turn, a little head nod, or the guard will turn around so the center can ID protection. So, because that's a hard thing to do when you have to go up and down and then
Yeah.
snap the ball and then block. So you have the guard tap the center, and then he'll do a little head thing, kind of trigger when the ball's being snapped. But listen, it's so cool because it's a game within the game.
Yeah.
Like football is so beautiful in that way,
Yeah.
especially playing quarterback and playing offenses. There's so many little games within
Yeah.
the game, which
And
makes it
the
so.
the fans just sit in the stands and they don't see all that stuff going on. They just
Oh,
kind of see the big picture. But I would
mhm.
imagine you as a quarterback at that level of competition, you probably sit there and pick apart what's going on inside the game versus the big picture.
That's right. A lot goes into it. The details that you prepare and practice with. You hear coaches all the time talking about, you know what, we knew he was going to play well on Saturday or Sunday because about the preparation that went
Yeah.
into it. And a lot of people don't understand what is preparation. What does he mean? He just went to meetings, he watched film. Yeah, he watched film, but there's a real structure to it. So I'll tell you, I had a plan for myself. I learned from guys who had been in the NFL, guys who'd been successful in college. It's like, you know, Sunday rolls, like a game on Saturday, Sunday rolls around, you watch the tape from Saturday, you take the notes, you go to film with your team, you review it, you move on. I had a plan where I'm watching 4, 5, maybe even 6 games of the team, just full games, trying to get a feel just of who they are. What's
Yeah.
their general identity as a team? What are some
Yeah.
general tendencies that I
Yeah.
that I see? Then I get to Monday, I finish that up. Now I'm watching normal down and distance tape. So for anybody who doesn't know what normal down and distance is your early down. So first and second down, where it's first and 10 or second and below 10 or below. So when you get in second and long, it's a kind of the outlier. But okay, I'm figuring out when it's early downs, base downs, the majority of the game, what do they do? So you're preparing for that. Then you have coaches who are preparing your call sheet, your plays for those downs. So once I have those plays, then I'm going through the plays and applying it to what I've seen on tape, right? And you're doing all that. And then to third down and red zone. So you in 2 minute and 4 minute and backed up situations and all of these, plus you're going to meetings and practice and all of this. There's just so much preparation that goes into. So when people say, what do you mean by preparation? Like,
Yeah.
Shane Steichen has talked about with the Colts. Daniel Jones is playing so well right now. And he talks about his preparation. Daniel Jones has a plan every single week. He's consistent with his plan. I'm sure of it based on how he's playing on Sundays. He's doing what he's told, but he's doing that plus more. And it really allows you when you get on Saturdays, there's so much detail that goes
Yeah.
into it that you're prepared to play instinctually. Like we talk about crowd noise. When we were at Georgia and we're going on the road practice, you couldn't hear anything because crowd noise is playing on the speakers. We're in the indoor facility and it's just crowd noise, funneled crowd noise. So we can
Yeah.
practice playing when it's loud. So it doesn't even affect you when you're on the field on Saturday. So there's just so much detail that goes
Yeah.
into it. We talk about the game within the game that goes into a product on Saturday, and it's part of playing. It's what you sign
Yeah.
up for.
So when you're sitting there watching the game on TV, what do you look for when you're watching?
It's funny you ask. My wife and I were just talking about that, like a general fan watching, kind of just following the ball around
Yeah.
versus how maybe someone who played watches it. Like if you're a linebacker, I'm sure linebackers go and they watch a lot about the
Yeah.
defense and how the linebackers are filling their gaps and playing coverage and dropping in their zones and all that. But for me as a quarterback, I kind of do it how I would diagnose a play when I'm on the field or how I'm watching tape is, first of all, I'm going to look at formation of the offense, right? Or what personnel grouping they're in. What's the structure of the formation? Is it 2 by 2, 3 by 1, 3 by 1, four strong, where the back is? And then I'm looking at the shell of the defense. When I say the shell, what the defensive backs coverage is, what are they showing on looking at the front if I can see it on
Yeah.
TV. And you're looking at it quick. You do it so much that it happens so
Yeah.
fast for you.
Automatic.
So when I watch football on Saturdays, when I watch football on Sundays, I try to watch it from a lens of I'm like watching tape. So I'm able to understand, okay, this happened on the play, but this is why it happened. So I love it. I love
Maybe you should be a broadcaster.
I'll tell you, I'm working on that a little bit.
All right.
I'm working on that a little
I
bit.
mean, look at all the most of the broadcasters are all former quarterbacks.
Yeah, they are. So actually, it's funny you say that. I've kind of tapped into media a little bit. I'm doing Kennesaw State radio broadcast this year. I've been a part of
Okay.
it. Pregame show, halftime show, postgame show. I've called one game as an in booth analyst, color commentator. I've done multiple games on the sideline, and I have one more game here in November as a color
Radio's
comment.
tough.
radio is tough, but hey, getting my feet wet, eventually TV would be amazing. That's something that I'd like to pursue.
Yeah,
Just it keeps me connected to the game, right? But
sure.
it's fun to be able to describe to people what is going on and why it's happening. It's been a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this deep question,
Mhm.
right? Is we talked about everything athletically,
Right.
right? Um, and we didn't touch on FCA yet,
Mhm.
right? For those that are listening, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Talk about that. How did that come about? How did you get involved? How has that helped you? Where is the involvement now, right? And how is all of this between sports, the FCA, how has that turned you into who you are now as a person?
I talked earlier a little bit about when I first got into TCU and how that helped me a ton. Is I think with FCA and even with church is someone inviting you, right? It starts with someone lending a hand to you to come be a part. Just come try it out. Come be a part of a
Yeah,
community. And what's so cool about FCA is that you're in a room of people that are on a similar path as you, maybe the same sport, maybe not, but going through very similar experiences as you. And it's not common that you go through life where you're around people that are going something through something that's very, very similar to you. So when you're able to get in a room of like-minded individuals, but then also have the leadership and mentorship from people who are very strong in their faith and you know lending a hand, sharing and mentoring with you, and also having other individuals hearing that message and also trying to pursue Jesus and grow in their faith. Because I think when you get caught up in athletics, and I've fallen a victim to this, is you have this identity in who you are on the field.
yeah,
And a lot of people struggle with it. And that's why I think it's so tough when you transition, for me, from sport to going into what's next, what's the next chapter, is this identity piece. It's been who you are your whole life. And when you have people in a room who are in a same situation and can kind of foster and grow together and learning about where your identity truly lies, is in your faith and with Jesus, and that no matter where you are, there is a plan for you, and everything happens for a reason, and you're where you're supposed to be. Um, it helped shape a perspective in me of so much uncertainty of transferring from Georgia to TCU. I was able to grow friendship with people and grow community at the university and lean on people. Um, Chauncey Franks was our leader at FCA. He still is at TCU, and Coleman Maxwell. And Chauncey officiated my oldest brother's wedding,
really.
who went to TCU, and he got married in California. He flew all the way out to California. And I think at TCU, FCA was just so special. It really was. And it just shows what that community and what that fostering of people can do, is grow your faith, grow your identity in what it really is supposed to be in, rather than just being caught up in your sport and who you are based on your performance. So it played a big impact.
It's powerful.
Um, is
So you mentioned that you're usually invited, somebody invites you in.
mhm.
Who invited you in? And then who was the first person you invited in?
I remember it being a player who, I'd first gotten there. He was in the recruiting class of 2018 out of high school, already there, and he had gone, and we had class together, and he was an offensive lineman, and I was a um, quarterback, and he was like, I'd love for you to come to FCA. And then I went to FCA. It was awesome, and they had a retreat in Texas where a bunch of colleges from Texas went to this site. This, you stay in bunk beds,
Yeah,
there's worship, and I just remember that weekend being extremely powerful for me. So just a teammate lending a hand And I want to say it was, I'm going to give him a shout out, John Lands. He played at TCU, was there for, I want to say that it was John who invited me, um, and went. And then I remember when my buddy Mitchell, who was in my wedding and he was new to TCU, he got involved in FCA quickly. I had a friend who had, had thought about walking on the football team, started to walk on. I invited him into the community and just more people. And then as soon as he starts to enjoy it, he invites, and it just is this web.
Yeah.
So it all starts seriously with someone inviting someone, and it's just this kind of web effect.
Now, did you have that in each school?
So I was involved a little bit at Louisiana Tech. The chapter wasn't as, I guess that community I'd had at TCU wasn't the same. I do know they're doing an exceptional job. I do also think it was a part of me being so focused on just trying to play and be a player, and I kind of
Yeah.
lost that a little bit. And even at Elon too, but um, that never, I would never say that wavered in my faith and who I am. I just felt like I was very caught up in that preparation aspect. I'm always have been one of, um, you know, not trying to be underprepared in any way. So just trying
Yeah.
to do as much as I could during the season to be prepared for a game.
Okay. So is it over now? Is football over?
Um, I'd say my role in playing football may be over. Um, but I don't think my role in football is over. So football in me is not over at
Okay.
all.
What do
I
you think the
think
next step's going to be?
next steps for me, um, this broadcast stuff I've been doing on the side a little bit, which has been a ton of fun. And I'd like to keep building that. I think I've started to train a few quarterbacks in the Atlanta area because I remember Quincy and the effect he had on me and the mentorship and what I learned from him. Being involved and helping guys share my experiences and what I've been through to help them when they begin their experiences. I think it's important to give back based on what this game's given to me. And I think even just, being a fan is cool. It's been a while since I've done that. It's fun to be a fan, helping, guys in their journey and their process. And then how can I use my launch pad that I've created for myself in this game of football to transition to if I wanted to get into broadcasting or even fostering the relationships that I've built through the business world and what I'm doing now. So
Yeah.
I think just using the game that's given you so much is using that network through the game to be able to pour back.
How about college coaching? Is that of interest?
I had an interest getting into it when I started, but I think it dwindled. Just
It's a tough life.
it's tough. My brother's in it. He's a coach and he's built for it, and you have to be fully committed to it. His wife's committed to it. I have other interests outside of that. I didn't want to do that to my family or my wife of moving around and the lack of job security or the time that goes into it of not being able to spend that time with my own
Yeah.
family. I do love I love the game. I love talking about the game. I love talking about X's and O's and everything in between. But I just felt like that what life wasn't for me and my family.
Okay. So there's got to be some young quarterbacks listening right now, right? And they just heard, oh, he's coaching people. Well, who do you look for to coach? What kind of quarterback do you like to coach? And for those that are listening, are you open now to share your information so they can reach out to you to talk to you about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to help anybody in any way that I can. If they wanted to reach out and just talk through an experience, I'm happy to do so because I think why gatekeep what you've been through when you have the opportunity to pour into someone else's life? Like I don't believe in that at all. I think it's important to share and give back. And I've helped with Quincy a bit in the Atlanta area. I love helping out with the guys that he's training. I've reached out a little bit when I was transitioning from I was in Chicago in rookie minicamp, figuring out what was going to be next for me. Now I'm working in Snelling's Walters in employee benefits space here in Atlanta. Getting to that moment and also doing some broadcasting is I was networking along the way, but I wanted to train some kids in the meantime. So I would reach out to high school kids, middle school kids, hey, here's my background, here's who I've worked with, let me help you. And it's been cool to see some kids be successful in high school so far this year, whether it's on the JV team or the varsity team, just
Yeah.
trying to pour back into a kid that was me at one point. So just helping out in the Atlanta area, training some quarterbacks and share my experience with them physically, mechanically helping there, but also the mental side of it and what goes on in that aspect.
And that's the part, Matthew, that so many people overlook is the mental side. Yeah, they spend 95% of their time training their bodies to be physically ready. But the mental side, man, that is just so, when that's missing, the physical doesn't follow.
Hmm. And you see that sometimes with prospects, right? In
Yeah.
the NFL, the makeup is there, but maybe they're not up to the standard of the mental processing capabilities. And
Yeah.
I think for any kid, whether it's middle school, starting in middle school, early high school, the foundational aspects of how you learn football. What I mean by that is learning football is not only the rules and what you're doing in your own scheme, right? In your own plays. That's first and foremost, but being curious about what defenses are, okay? What coverages are. Start as early as you can so you can have these foundational principles so you're ahead of the curve when you get to that level. I started early and I wish I'd had been even more curious because when I got to Georgia, I had a coach by the name of Jay Johnson. He was our assistant quarterbacks coach. I believe he went to be on the offensive coordinator at Michigan State, Colorado, the Michigan State. I think he's at Wyoming now. But what he was able to do with me in one summer of being a freshman and laying these foundational pieces of what defenses were, of how it worked, in terms of the whole picture on offense.
Yeah.
I wish that I took it that seriously early on to where when I got later into high school, I could process much quicker because it's one thing learning it in the classroom, it's one thing applying it on the field. And when you're able to learn it in the classroom and apply it on the field and then see it on the field and you do it over and over and over again, you have all these reps at it. It allows you to play at a much faster speed
Yeah.
the higher the level you go.
I mean, you got to just be a hyper learner. You got to be picking things up quick,
Hmm.
and like you said, you might have the physical ability, but if you're not mentally picking it up, you're going to go sit over there,
Absolutely.
right?
It's how it goes. Have to be able to process.
Yeah.
Have to.
So, advice, two-part question. What advice can you give to the high school kid now who is thinking about going to that next level? Would it be Georgia, or Elon,
Mhm.
right? And what advice can you give to the kid who's playing somewhere now, who's got the transfer portal on the mind? Two separate worlds. You've been through both. What advice can you give these young kids?
For the high school kid, worry less about others and worry about yourself. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah,
If you look at someone else's recruiting story or what someone else is getting now, and you're comparing it to yourself and say, I'm not good enough, or why don't I have that? That mindset is going to lead you down a path of, um, you know, not being confident, right? Not developing the way that you could be developing. I think for that high school kid is worry about your journey, run your own race, and try to develop as much as you can. Like you're the goal is to go win every Friday night, every Thursday night, Saturday, whenever you're playing. But what are you controlling that you can get better at every single day? Because I promise you, day after day after day, it stacks on top of each other. And it's cliche to say that people say stack days, right? But
it's true.
there's no way but through. There's no shortcut to it.
No,
That's how you get better. It's how you develop. So those high school kids, run your own race, get better every single day because it will pay off when you do get to that next level. And for guys that are thinking about the transfer portal, I can't speak to the money decision because that's not where it was when I was transferring or That's not why I was transferring at all. Um, but I'll say this: really, really self-reflect before you decide to enter the transfer portal. Right? Try to ask the questions: what have I done here to put myself in this position? Have I done everything that I can? Have I done it the right way? Have I poured into the program? Have I maximized my opportunities? Right? Because you have this biased opinion. I'm sure I fell victim to it. Is like you think that you should be playing or you think that it should be one way. The coach obviously has made a different decision. Okay. Whether that's the right decision or it's not, both sides need to self-reflect, right? End of the year, if that's the right decision. If you have done all of that and you genuinely do feel like I cannot maximize my potential here, maybe it's best to go elsewhere, then that's the decision that you make. But maybe it causes a guy to be, you know what, I'm going to stick it out here a little bit longer, and I'm going to, pour into the places that I wasn't pouring into before. But what I'll really say is the recruiting side of what I would go tell myself is go somewhere where you're going to play. Go somewhere where you are valued and, there's a trust level and there's belief level because with the transfer portal nowadays, I have a really good friend of mine who's the backup quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings as a rookie, undrafted free agent. His name is Max Brosmer. Um, he played in the East West Shrine Bowl. He went to the combine, all of this. When we were in the beginning stages of college, a lot of guys were playing at big schools. But what Max was doing is he went to New Hampshire out of high school, University of New Hampshire. Was not heavily recruited. He was a really good high school player.
It's my enemy,
Mm. But I
Maine's
will
enemy.
say, Max played and he developed and he poured into himself and his development and the people and the program that he was in, allowed him to graduate from New Hampshire, play a year at Minnesota, played at Minnesota in the Big Ten,
Yep.
went undrafted, made the roster with the Minnesota Vikings, and he's now the backup. So I encourage guys who I look back on myself. I do believe it was the right decision at the time. It's what I believed, and it's where my heart was, is to go to Georgia. But go somewhere where you can really play. You may have the opportunity to, if you play well enough, to move up and play at a higher level if
Yeah.
that's where it looks. But go somewhere where you're valued, where you have an opportunity to compete and play. Nothing's going to be handed to you. Go somewhere where you have an opportunity to compete and let everything on the field take care of itself.
Some serious wisdom.
Been through a lot. I've been
Yeah.
through a lot and learned a lot. So, um,
So let me ask you this question. We're getting close to wrapping it up. You're a young guy. You have so much future in front of you,
mhm.
but you still have a history, right? So when people look back or you look back, you know, and people hear your name, how do you want them to remember you?
Good question. And I tried to live this every single day that I was a player, that I was a teammate, is someone who is a relentless worker, works absolute tail off and consistently showing up every single day. Someone who valued the relationship with his teammates. And within that was a leader to people. If I had been able to touch someone's life in some way along the way, I pray that I was able to of leaving a place better than you found it, whether that's through one relationship, whether that's through other relationships, but someone who worked hard, was very relational and a leader, and someone who just was an ultra competitor every single day, no matter if it was day 10, day 12 of fall camp in year 7, or it was day 1 of year 1 fall camp at Georgia, that no matter what, I was going to show up every single day with the best intention I had of being an ultra competitor, working my absolute tail off, and leaving no stone unturned. I am at peace because I can look back genuinely and say that I gave it every single ounce of my being I had. And when people look back on who I was as a player, as a person, throughout my time in high school, college, all the way up is that they know that I gave it everything that I had.
It's one hell of a memory. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Matthew, we covered a lot of stuff. We started out your pre-high school, high school days into your into Georgia, the transfer. We got into your life. We got into where you're at today. We got into how you want to be remembered. Is there anything we haven't touched on you think we should hit before we wrap it up?
I'll say one last thing is for anybody transitioning out of sport and into the professional world or whatever you're doing, don't let what you've been through just be there and gone. Use what you've learned because as an athlete, you've been through more experience than, in my opinion, than people go through in a lifetime, all within these years. And the skill set and the mindset and the adversity, everything that you've been through sets you up for success in the future. And I'm doing my best every single day, showing up to Snelling's Walters and giving it my best and going in and doing some broadcast stuff and giving my best, but using the skills and development that I've been through my experiences and using that and applying that in the business world and what I'm doing. So there's so much to gain from playing. There's so much to gain from being a student and all of it in between to set you up for success and the skills, everything that you've been through has gotten you to a point that will use as a launch pad to propel you to success in your future. So
It's great advice. It's a great way to wrap it up. It's awesome. So Matthew, man, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to share your journey. It's incredible. This is not what I was expecting, and it's 10 times more. And I'm so glad that you agreed to be on here to share that story, to be vulnerable, like you said before, and to let the world know, the young kids know that are out there that might be going through something similar, that there is a way through it, and I'll use your word is just be prepared to perform under pressure. And the rest takes care of itself. So thanks for being on, and
yeah,
I can't wait to see what's next.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Jeff. It was a lot of fun and you're doing great things with the podcast. So I appreciate
Well,
it.
well, I appreciate it. And as I always end the show, stay strong.
Sounds good. Stay strong.